لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ, that we created man in a state of hardship. The word kabad means hardship and toil. Though the word is general to include all human beings and there are benefits of this generality, however, here it refers particularly to the foremost adversaries of the Qur'an, which were the Ishmaelites, specifically the Quraysh. The verse, while alluding to the advent and settling down of their ancestors in Mecca and to their early history, informs them that they should not think that the abundance of resources and sustenance they possess here at this time was always there, or that these circumstances are the result of their own planning and ability. The fact of the matter is that when Abraham ﷺ settled his son Ishmael ﷺ in this land, it was totally barren and desolate, as well as strife-ridden and insecure. People lived here like nomads, and their life was full of toil and struggle. Their livelihood depended on their herds, and every person was responsible for the protection of his life and of his herd. There was no system that could offer protection to people. When Abraham ﷺ settled his son Ishmael ﷺ in this barren piece of land, he prayed to the Almighty to bless his progeny with sustenance and resources of livelihood in it, as well as with peace and security. It was a blessing of this very prayer that resources of livelihood became abundant, and because of their custodianship of the house of God and because of the sanctity granted to this land by the Almighty in the sacred months, the doors to trade through peaceful journeys opened. It was as a result of all this that their life of toil and struggle transformed into a life of ease and comfort. They were so overcome with pride and vanity on this life of ease and comfort that they ended up showing indifference to God and His Prophet. They contended that what they received was their birthright and they could expend it in any manner they wanted to, and that no one had any power to interfere with their freedom and merrymaking. In order to dispel this misconception of the Quraysh, the Qur'an has cited the history of the house of God at various places and cautioned them that if they become rebellious after receiving these favors from God, they would only be inviting their doom by this attitude of theirs. Surah Ibrahim refers to this aspect thus: وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَجُنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَّعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامَ رَبِّ إِنَّهُنَّ أَضْلَلْنَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ فَمَن تَبِعَنِي فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي وَمَنْ عَصَانِي فَإِنَّكَ غَفُورٌ رَّحِيمٌ رَبَّنَا إِنِّي أَسْكَنْتُ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي بِوَادٍ غَيْرِ ذِي زَرْعٍ عِندَ بَيْتِكَ الْمُحَرَّمِ رَبَّنَا لِيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ فَاجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ وَارْزُقْهُم مِّنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ. And when Abraham prayed, Lord, make this a secure land, protect me and my progeny from being contaminated with worshipping idols. Lord, these idols have led astray many people. So he who follows me is from my brethren, and he who disobeys me, you are surely forgiving and merciful. Lord, I have settled some of my progeny in a barren piece of land near your sacred house, O Lord, that they may show diligence in their prayer. Incline the hearts of men towards them and provide them with the livelihood of fruits so that they may express gratitude. Surah number 14, verses 35-37. A deliberation on the above quoted verses reveals the following facts. 1. The reason that Abraham ﷺ settled from among his progeny Ishmael ﷺ in a barren and desolate piece of land was that he could be protected from the environment of polytheism. 2. Abraham ﷺ built the house of God in this land so that his progeny could make it a center of God's worship. He also prayed that this center of worship and his progeny should become a hub to which people turn. 3. At that time, Mecca was a barren and infertile land and was also unsafe and insecure. So Abraham ﷺ also prayed that its inhabitants be blessed with abundance in food provisions and become safe and secure. The purpose of presenting all these details is that the status and riches the Quraysh had at the time of the advent of the last Prophet ﷺ was neither due to their own planning nor because they were entitled to it as a tribe. Whatever they have now is a result of Abraham's prayer and of the blessings of the house of God. This favor from God is conditional upon certain obligations. These include worshipping the Almighty, completion of the objective for which the house of God was built, and professing faith in the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ sent to them. If they abide by these conditions, they will remain in this status. Otherwise, all this will be confiscated from them. For this very reason, the Almighty has demanded from the Quraysh in Surah Quraysh that if they want to keep receiving the blessings of the house of God, the only way is to worship the God of this house. The implication is that if they do not do so, there is no reason for them to remain the custodians of this house and the recipients of its blessings. The words of Surah Quraysh are, لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. Owing to the association the Quraysh have, the association they have with the winter and summer journeys, so they should worship the Lord of this house who fed them in hunger and provide them with peace and fear. Surah number 104, verses 1 to 4. أَيَحْسَبُ أَن لَّن يَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٌ. Does he think that no one has power over him? The verse implies that there is no reason for those who know the early history of this area to be misled by their current affluence, that since they are so strongly rooted now, no one can uproot them. The being who blessed them with abundance in food resources in a barren and infertile land can destroy them anytime he wants to, especially when they have not even fulfilled the objective for which they had been settled in this area and for which the Prophet Abraham ﷺ had prayed for them. يَقُولُ أَهْلَكْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا أَيَحْسَبُ أَن لَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ. He says, I have wasted heaps of money. Does he think that no one has seen him? The previous verse unveils the mentality of people which resulted from their being blessed with status and with an abundance in wealth. This verse unveils the character of people which has emanated from this corrupted mentality. A person who is overcome with conceit, thinking that the wealth and status he has been blessed with was a result of his own planning and strategy or was his birthright, has no motivation left in him to spend in the way of God. Therefore, he becomes indifferent not only to God but also to the hereafter. In order to hide their miserliness, such people keep wailing and brooding before the needy about their long list of expenditures and try to prove to them that besides personal expenditures, they have to spend so much for national and collective needs that in spite of vast income and resources, they are barely able to live in these means. It is this very method they adopt to silence people who invite them to spend in the name of God and for a better place in the hereafter. We have already spent a lot on such heads. How much more should we spend? Is the question they pose to such people. The expression mal al-lubada means a great amount of wealth. The verse ayahsabu allam yarahu ahad is an answer to such boastful people. They think that no one is observing their generosity. The fact of the matter is that God is observing everything they do. He knows very well that they don't spend a dime and still brag about their generous spending. The implication of the verse is that one day the complete account of all these alleged spending will come before them and before other people too. Alam naj'al lahu 'aynayn wa lisanan wa shafatayn wa hadaynahu an-najdayn. Have we not given him 2 eyes and a tongue and 2 lips and not shown him the 2 ways? These verses caution them that they are so engrossed in their worldly riches that they have not even properly used the 2 eyes God had blessed them with. Otherwise, they would not have let go of the eternal kingdom of the hereafter by becoming blind slaves to these trivial things. They could have attained it to this wealth, which one day they would have to part with anyway. The love and lust for the trivial and the transient has made them oblivious to the eternal. These verses prod them. They should reflect that the Almighty had blessed them with 2 eyes so that they could observe their surroundings and see that on the one hand the Almighty has blessed them with wealth and status, and on the other they can see right below their nose are orphans and needy, poor and helpless, weak and sick, the physically handicapped and the deprived, who have nothing to eat and nothing to wear. The reason that the Almighty has blessed them with eyes is that they observe all this around them and learn a lesson and become grateful to the Almighty, merely as a favor. He did not make them go through such trying circumstances. Hence, as an obligation to these favors, they should have generously spent their money to fulfill the needs of the deprived lot, the money which was given in their custody by the Almighty with a share for such people. In other words, the verse says that the real use of the eyes was to seek the lessons of life through them, and if they do not do so, then being deprived of eyes is much better than being blessed with them. The words وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْن mean that people have also been blessed with a tongue and two lips in addition to the eyes mentioned earlier. The reason for blessing a person with them is that after seeing and feeling the deprivation around him, he not only takes practical steps to rectify it, but urges others also to do so. His urging and exhortation would then become instrumental in others adopting virtue also. In the previous surah, this aspect is pointed out in the verse, وَلَا تَحَاضُّونَ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, or, and do not urge one another to feed the poor, surah number 89, verse 18. In this surah, the following verse serves a similar purpose. ثُمَّ كَانَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْمَرْحَمَةِ, or, then he be of those who accepted faith and who counsel one another to be patient and sympathetic. Another thing which becomes evident from this verse is that the awareness of virtue in a person should entail that he should not only adopt that virtue himself, but also urge others to do so as well. This is included in his obligation, otherwise his virtuous deeds will in fact be incomplete. Urging others to adopt virtue is a responsibility of every individual of the society, without which he will be held accountable before the Almighty. In Surah Asr, a thorough treatment will be given to this subject under the verse وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, or, and exhorted one another to the truth and exhorted one another to patience, Surah number 103, verses 1 to 3. Here a secondary aspect is also worth consideration. The tongue is mentioned with lips, which actually protect it from above and below. The principle is that the more valuable and capable of producing profound, effective, and far-reaching results a thing is, the more it is protected and safeguarded so that it is secured from any carelessness or negligence in using it. A person's tongue is one of the most valuable and effective weapons. It is a sharp-edged sword. For this reason, it has been handed over to man in a sheath so that he should only unsheath it where required, and for the purpose it has been given to him by God. It is highly unfortunate that people, instead of using it for the right purpose, use it for trivial tasks. The sentence, وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ, refers to the fact that besides blessing man with the faculty of sight, intellect, and speech, the Almighty has also guided him regarding the two paths, the paths which are mentioned in Surah Dahr in the following words. إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. We showed him the path. If he wants, he can be grateful or ungrateful. The words of Surah Shams are even more clear. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And the soul bears witness and the perfection given to it. Therefore, God inspired it with its evil and its good. Surah number 91, verses 7 to 10. No different to this is the explanation I have proffered in Surah Qiyamah, that the liking of good and the disliking of evil is ordained in human nature. If a person does evil, it is not because he does not possess the awareness of good and evil. It is because he is overcome by emotions, knowing full well that he is committing evil.